achiever. Image-conscious, success and outcomes-orientated, pragmatic, adaptable and highly driven. Type 3 personalities are self-assured, attractive and often charming. As Type 3s are very ambitious, they will often pursue success at any cost, except being disliked by others. 3s can be overly concerned with their image and what others think of them. 3s typically have problems with competitiveness and the need to be the best at whatever they do. Healthy Type 3s are the embodiment of authenticity. They are self-accepting and are selfless role models who inspire others. Core fear of being worthless, negated. Desire to feel valued and worthwhile by others. Well-known exemplars of Type 3: Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Tony Blair, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Muhammad Ali, Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins, Tiger Woods, Lance Armstrong, and Elvis Presley.
All right, 3s, we're going to talk about you today. So on that list it said Muhammad Ali probably maybe was a 3. I would agree. I even met Muhammad Ali once. Muhammad Ali didn't mind saying, "I am the greatest." Sounds like a 3. In fact, before his first heavyweight championship fight, he was supposed to fight the reigning champion, world champion, Sonny Liston. There was a press conference and nobody thought he could beat him. The press is asking him, "Can you win?" He said, "Listen, 15 times I told that clown what round he's going down. He's gonna fall in 8 to prove that I am great. But if he keeps talking jive, I'm gonna knock him out in 5. That's what he said. And it all rhymed. It was awesome. Sounded just like Muhammad Ali. Here's the thing, true story. One time he's on an airplane and it's about to take off and the flight attendant comes up to him and said, "Mr. Ali, you need to buckle your seatbelt." And he looked up at the flight attendant and he said, "Listen, Superman doesn't need a seatbelt." But then she came right back with, "Well, Superman doesn't need an airplane either." Watch out. Fucking buckle up, Mr. Ali. He was the greatest athlete of all time, and he didn't mind telling anyone about that. I think he was a 3. 3s are called the achiever, the effective person, because 3s can and will do great things in this world. As we look at these Enneagram types, I want to remind you that the whole goal of this is for you to become more self-aware of your strengths as well as your weaknesses. But the entire goal of this Enneagram study and the reason it exists is to help us grow spiritually in our spiritual development, to help us grow in our relationship with God and remove those things in our lives that create barriers between us and God, create barriers between us and the people that we love. So let's understand 3s together. So I have a few thoughts here on 3s to start with. 3s are high achievers. 3s get things done. 3s see life as a competitive struggle, and 3s are going to be winners. 3s are not losers. I think, speaking of great athletes in this world, another one who I think was a 3 was Ricky Bobby. Because Ricky Bobby said, "If you're not first, you're last." That's a 3 talking. No second, no third, you're not first, you're last. That's a 3 talking. 3s will hustle and get things done. It may seem to you that a 3 is outgoing. 3s, by the way, have never met a stranger. It seems like they're outgoing and successful, and it seems to you like maybe things just drop in the lap of a 3. No, 3s are where they are, or have what they have, or who they are, because they worked hard and they hustled. 3s set high goals. They are driven and ambitious. 3s are great at sales. 3s are persuasive with their words. They're winsome. They can convince you of just about anything. I know this is true because I have a friend who I believe he's a 3 and he owns a car dealership. And what happened is, for example, a month ago, my son needed a pickup truck to go back to college in. And so we started to look. And within the first hour, he says, "Hey, Dad," he's looking at my friend's website. Look at this truck I just found. It looks amazing. So I look at the truck and I go, "It has 140,000 miles on it." And he says, "Yeah, but it looks so good." He said, "Just call him, ask him. Maybe it's 140,000 good miles." There's no such thing, by the way. So I said, listen, I'm not going to call him. It's a rabbit hole. Once I call him, he sucks me in with his persuasive powers, and I end up buying something I don't really think I should buy. He says, just how can it hurt? Call him. I go, fine. I go, okay, I call him. He answers the phone. I hear something in the background. I say, where are you? He says, I'm on the beach in Hawaii with my wife, getting away from the kids. I said, why are you taking work calls? That's a 3, because he's an achiever, because they never stop working. Some say they're workaholics. And so I said, hey, I'm calling about the truck with 140,000. Oh, those are all freeway miles, Palmer. That's a really good truck, you know. In fact, I know the guy that owned that. You want to own this truck? I'm going, it's 140. He says, listen, I'm not going to be back for a week. Just go to my office, get the keys, and you guys just drive it. No, I said, listen, then if I bring the keys back, it's going to get weird. He said, it'll only get weird if you make it weird, Palmer. So we went and got the keys. 6 days later, we're the proud owners of a truck with 140,000 miles on it. 3s will sell you just about anything. They can. 3s have big personalities. People love to be around 3s. If you have a business, run a business, you need a 3 working with you. Here's the thing. All right, there's a lot of 3s in the Bible. I want to introduce you to a young 3 in Genesis. So open up to Genesis chapter 37. And we read about Joseph. Small side note here, you all know that he had an amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat that also has a play written about it. I asked Andrea to sing one of those songs. She said no, Palmer. She sang just about every song I ever asked for, but so we missed out on that today. Just small side note. I don't even know any of those songs, but some of you do. Anyway, verse 3, Jacob's son Joseph was now 17 years old. Joseph reported to his father some of the bad things his brothers were doing. Why would the story open like this? Why, of all things, does it start with Joseph reporting some of the bad things that his brothers were doing? Is it just because he's a narc? No, it's because he's a 3, and he's trying to earn his father's praise. You know, and that's the thing about 3s. 3s crave the praise and attention of others. And if you know much about 3s, this is true of most 3s growing up, that they lived in a home where they were rewarded. There was always big reward if you achieve something big. Like say, and it could be from a teacher, it could be from a coach, it could be from a mother or a father, but they learned early that if I got a good grade, that I was praised, it went on the fridge. So now they're fighting for that praise again. Or it might have been they were on a sports team and they came home with a trophy, and they say the bedrooms of 3s will be filled with trophies because they got big recognition at home when they got a trophy, but they're fighting for the praise of their father or their mother. I think most of us have a little bit of 3 in us. I score high on 8s and 7s, but then after that, it's a 3. And I was just going to show you the one trophy that I have. I didn't win a trophy in elementary school or junior high or high school. This is my first trophy I won. I was 42 years old when I got this trophy, and I keep it in my office still. It says, Coach Chinchen, you rock. You know, Santan K8. Here's the thing, you know, we all kind of are down on participation trophies. We didn't win the championship or anything this year. This was just like a coach's participation trophy, but I take a lot of pride in it. But 3s, we're just gonna leave that there just to remind us of all of your special moments in life. But we all can empathize with that. But 3s in particular realized early in life that if I look like I'm succeeding, if I win at something, I get a lot of praise. And so then as adults, they say 3s cannot be praised enough. And they keep trying to earn the praise of people around them. 3s can be image conscious. They can be concerned with how they appear because they want to appear competent and accomplished and successful. Here's what we read about Joseph next. Look at verse 4. One day, Jacob, his father, gave him a special gift, a brightly colored coat. His brothers, of course, noticed their father's partiality and consequently hated Joseph. They couldn't say a kind word about him. 3s believe that if they have the right image, then people will love them more. If they have the right image, people will like them and accept them. And so 3s are very aware of that. They say 3s will never show up at work in their sweats. They won't even go shopping in their sweats. 3s care about the image that they portray. And for Joseph, he's trying to win this attention of his brothers. Threes, I do like this about threes. Threes have big dreams, and that's certainly the case with Joseph. Here's what we read, chapter 37, verse 5. One night Joseph had a dream. Listen to this. He proudly announced, he's talking to his brothers, we were out in the field binding sheaves, and my sheaves stood up, and your sheaves all gathered around it and bowed down. So you want to be our king, do you? His brothers hated him for his dream and for his cocky attitude. Move down. I dreamed another dream. The sun rose, the sun and the moon, and 11 stars bowed down before me. Why is he saying all this? Because Joseph is trying to impress his brothers. He's trying to impress his father. He's trying to win their approval. Instead, he disenfranchises them. Some of you know the story well. Joseph is sent, his brothers go down to Dothan with the sheep, and so his father sends him with some supplies. And when he gets there, they see him coming in his bright, handsome-looking, sharp-looking coat. And as he's walking up, they say, here comes that dreamer. And they strip the coat off, and they pull it off, and they tear it up, and then they throw him in a pit. And here's the thing. Threes go through life with this feeling of shame. Like he's simply, it seems like trying to win the approval and the acceptance of his brothers, but all that keeps happening is they reject him over and over again. And threes wrestle with this. I'm going to call it the pit of shame. I think they end up there. Threes are in the heart triad. 2, 3, 4s are the heart triad. Some also call it the shame triad because in their unhealthy state, they will move towards shame. I don't know if you know how to describe what shame feels like. I think we've all experienced it in life. Shame is this feeling that I don't belong. Shame is this feeling that I'm not good enough. I can't be loved for who I am and people are rejecting me. Shame is that feeling of being rejected. Shame is that feeling of not being loved or not being wanted. Shame in particular is a feeling like I don't belong here. As hard as I try, I just feel shame. Some people live with a chronic sense of that. And maybe you felt it at times in your life. I know I felt it over the course of my life. 11th grade in particular. I remember we had been living in Africa, my family had, for 11 years, 10, 11 years. And then my junior year of high school, we came back to America. And my parents enrolled me and my twin brother in a Baptist prep school in Jackson, Mississippi. And I didn't know what kind of scene we're walking into, but I arrived the first day of school and I was wearing this terry cloth shirt and quickly realized that just about everyone else in school either wore an Izod or a polo, Ralph Lauren polo. That was the shirt to wear. In fact, later I heard that some kids' mothers would go, they needed that Izod shirt so bad, their mothers would buy Izod socks and cut the logo off of the sock and then buy a Fox shirt at J.C. Penney's, cut the Fox off of here, and then sew on the Izod. The people were that desperate. Anyway, my twin brother and I, we try to fit in, but nobody is inviting us over. We're making no friends. There's parties on the weekends we never get invited to. At lunch, we go to the parking lot and we eat in our car. That's how 11th grade went for me. But then they had tryouts for the tennis team, and we both made the tennis team. And I thought, now it's my chance to fit in, form a band of brothers. And the tennis coach, after we made the team, pulled everyone together, and she says, now, what kind of shirts should we get for our uniform this year? And all the boys go, we all need polos. We all need Ralph Lauren polos. Who says that? But these guys did. And so she says, okay, we're all going to buy blue Ralph Lauren polos with a gold little horseman here with a stick in his hand. So I take my dad. We tell my dad we need to buy a Ralph Lauren. It's down at the Rogue, and it's one store in Jackson, Mississippi that sold Ralph Lauren. So we take him down there, and I knew how expensive they were. He didn't. He sees $55. He had $55. I could buy an entire suit at Montgomery Ward's for that. That's what he's telling us. And the thing is, I knew I had him in an arm bar because I knew that he had played tennis on the San Jose State team when he was in college. And so this moment of pride that his sons were going to be on the tennis team, I said, Dad, if you don't buy me the shirt, I can't play on the team. He dropped the $110 and wasn't happy. So then I was so excited about finally having a Ralph Lauren polo like everyone else in school did that the next morning I put it on and I wore it to school. I hadn't been in class for 15 minutes when a kid came up to me and he said, why are you wearing that to school? I said, it's our new tennis. He's on the tennis team with me. I said, it's our new uniform. I just got mine last night. He said, you can only wear that to the matches. You can't wear that to school, Palmer. That's the last day I wore it. That's what shame feels like. It's that feeling of, I'm not wanted here. I don't belong here. I'm not loved because of my background. I'm not loved because of who I am. That's what shame is like. That's why Joseph becomes the performer. Threes not only are called the achiever, they're also called the performer because sometimes they try to perform for the love and the attention of others. Let's go back to our text. What happens next? He gets sold into slavery. And a good man, rather good man it seems like, named Potiphar, buys Joseph as a slave. Verse 7, now Joseph was well built and handsome. They say that about threes. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, come to bed with me. But he refused. But she, by the way, ancient Hebrew says she, Potiphar's wife, Mrs. Potiphar, or the ancient Hebrew says Mrs. Cougar Potiphar, right there, it says that, caught him by the coat and said, come to bed with me. But he left his coat in her hand and ran out of the house. You know, just a small side note here, the swag keeps getting him in trouble. It does. But he gets sent to jail by Potiphar. And in jail, threes are networkers. So when he gets to jail, he starts to network. Threes, like I said, have never met a stranger. So he makes friends right away with a baker and a wine taster. And unfortunately, the baker dies, but the wine taster goes back into Pharaoh's palace. And then Pharaoh has a dream. You know this story. And he needs someone to interpret the dream, and nobody can. So the wine taster says, wait, I met a three in jail by the name of Joseph. I think he can interpret it. So Pharaoh brings him in, and he tells him the dream. And Joseph interprets it. And then he shares some words of wisdom with Pharaoh. And Pharaoh listens to him. So here's what I want to say next. Here's what I love about threes. Threes make great leaders. God uses threes to lead well. So here's what Pharaoh does next when he realizes he has a gem of a leader in this young man, Joseph. So Pharaoh said to Joseph, I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Are you kidding me right now? This is a guy that had been a sheep herder, and then he was in a pit, and then he was a slave and in jail, and now he's in charge of the whole land of Egypt. And he does an incredible job, by the way. Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck, and he had him ride in a chariot, and he had people shouting in front of him, make way. So here's Joseph. Not only does Pharaoh realize he's a great leader, but he gives him a gold chain, some new swag, and has an entourage with him. And Joseph's saying, stop, Pharaoh, you don't need to do this. Okay, yeah, let me have you, bring it all on. It felt really good. But then Joseph goes on, and like I said, he's brilliant. And he takes him through 7 years of abundance, and he stores up enough so that when the 7 years of famine come, everyone in the land is eating. His brothers and his father are starving in Canaan. So the brothers come and they find him, but they don't recognize him. And he doesn't tell them he's his brother. And then he sends for his youngest brother. By the way, finally his father comes, and then they reconcile. And here's what happens. Here's how the story, the text ends, chapter 45. Then Joseph said to his brothers, come close. When they had come close, he said, I am your brother Joseph that you sold into Egypt. Then he threw his arms around his brother Benjamin and wept. And Benjamin embraced him, weeping. And he kissed all of his brothers and wept over them. Do you see how they reconcile? Do you see how finally Joseph feels the love of his brothers? If you know a three, if you care about a three, if you love a three, then tell them that you love them for who they are, not for someone they are trying to be or pretending to be. Let them know that they are loved for who they are. Without conditions, let them know that they are good enough. If you are a 3 here this morning, I want you to know that God loves you as you are. You don't have to perform for God's love. By the way, and this is true for all of us here, there is nothing that you can ever do to cause God to love you more or even to love you less. God loves you not because you are flawless. God loves you not because you are successful. God doesn't love you because you are perfect. God loves you because you are who He made you. Yes, there's things we all need to work on.